The Icefields Parkway, a road that consistently makes it into top 10 lists about the world's most scenic drives, and with good reason. This 233-kilometre stretch of road, spanning from Lake Louise to Jasper, takes you through deep valleys surrounded by towering mountain peaks. It offers views of glaciers and stop-offs at world-class photography locations, stunning lakes, and incredible waterfalls. There's even a good chance you'll spot a bear eating berries on the side of the road. See? Look, there's one. Another early start for me today, another can of Rockstar. I feel like I'm becoming a little bit addicted to these things, but it is 3:30 in the morning and I have a 2.5 hour drive ahead of me to get to the start of the Icefields Parkway, and I'm aiming for sunrise at Peyto Lake. It's going to be the first of many awesome photography opportunities on the road today, so stick around to see those as the day progresses. Spot number one, Peyto Lake. Perfect conditions. I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with this lake. I think it took me about 10 visits until I managed to get a picture that I like here. But this morning looks like it's going to be incredible. I've checked out the shoreline and scoped out some compositions with some different foregrounds already, so I know there's a few good shots I'm going to get as well. But yeah, super excited for the sun to start hitting the peaks, and that's the first stop for today on the Icefields Parkway. So you can see behind me, like all these pink clouds that are now turning up over Peyto Peak. Pretty excited, so probably not going to film a lot, just going to run around and grab a bunch of pictures whilst I can. I'm not going to lie, I am super stoked with the conditions today. I think those are probably some of the best pictures that I've ever gotten from Peyto Lake, especially for summer shots. Like, sometimes the snow on the mountains and the ground makes it a bit more interesting, but yeah, it's been perfect reflections, perfect light. I mean, what a way to start the day. So I've just pulled over on the side of the road just past Peyto Lake. You can kind of see the Peyto Peak behind me there, which is the same mountain we shot from the lakeside. It's still early in the morning, so the road's pretty quiet, so it's not too bad. If you're coming here later in the day, probably wouldn't recommend pulling over onto the side of the road like this. So if you are into your photography, definitely make sure to head out early. Get a few of those first spots ticked off before the tourist traffic starts coming through and starts getting heavier. But I'm going to use the 70-200 to get a bit of compression just against the mountain there, and then use this road as a nice leading line and maybe get a couple of pictures of cars kind of coming up whilst I'm here. Why not? Peyto Lake. I mean, you can see from the view behind me why this is a must-do when you're driving the Icefields Parkway. It's a short walk up to the car park. There are a few little steeper sections on there as well, so that's something to consider. And then when you get to the top, there is a really nice big viewing platform where, to be honest with you, that's probably where you get the best compositions from. I've actually just snuck around the side a little bit here to this kind of rock pile area, It's a bit of a secret spot, so don't tell anyone. But it's quieter here, and I have it to myself at the moment. But later on in the day, I probably won't. Composition options here are still a bit limited as well, but if you do get that great sunrise or sunset whilst you're up here, then it's pretty hard to take a bad picture. So I think what I'm going to do, I've come a little bit further back away from the lake. You can see the trees here. What I'm going to try and do is use them as a bit of a foreground, kind of dirty the frame, or kind of a frame within a frame. And you can kind of see this rock here as well behind me. So I think a bit of a self-portrait there will work. Obviously the light's not amazing, it's a little bit later in the morning, but I think kind of having it overcast and a bit moody might work really well in the edit, so we'll just see how that turns out. Number 4, Mistaya Canyon. The cool thing about the Icefields Parkway is it obviously has those epic mountains and lakes that you probably want to be at for sunrise and sunset. But there's 4 or 5 really good waterfalls along the parkway as well that I can think of. And the good thing about that is you're not really relying on that good light. You're going to come down and you're going to put on your neutral density filter, your polarizer, and you're going to get some long exposures. So if you are traveling the whole parkway in a day, these are great options to fill that middle part of the day where maybe the light isn't so good. Stop number 5 is Parker Ridge and Hilda Peak. Parker Ridge is a kind of 5k return hike just up there, and I'll show you what that looks like from the top. I mean, made it to the top, pretty easy little hike, great views of the glaciers. I thought whilst I'm up here I'd show you kind of what I'm trying to do with the composition. As you can see, I've got my camera kind of set up down here really low. The hope is I can use these kind of like bushes in the foreground, and there's a rock past that I'm going to stand on, and then the glacier in the background for a bit of a self-portrait. Shooting at f4 in the hope I can get a bit of depth of field and a little bit more of a dreamy look, I suppose. But yeah, let's give it a go. So I left home at about 3 AM, 3:30 this morning. It's been 11 hours, 12 hours of kind of hiking, driving, shooting. For some reason, before I left, I thought, I know, I'll pack food for the day. And all I bought was 6 cookies from 7-Eleven. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're good cookies, but this is number 5. 1 left until I get to Jasper. Now, Hilda Peak. This is this one just behind me here. It's one of the most distinctive looking peaks on the Icefields Parkway, and makes for some great shots. It's a pretty standard composition, but using the road as that lead-in line, and waiting for a cool car to come by to finish it off. Spot number 6, the Columbia Icefields. It's always worth a stop, but it's pretty hard to photograph in all honesty. There's always a little bit of irony, I think, with people visiting via these big kind of gas-guzzling buses to visit a glacier that's receding every single year, but you can get some nice pictures here, and at the end of the day it is a glacier, so it's worth coming to see it whilst you still can. My suggestion would be, if you do want to actually get on the ice, is jump on one of the walking tours. I think you get more out of it anyway. You get to spend more time on the ice and kind of explore a bit further. And to be fair, you're not kind of impacting the glacial receding any more than you need to be. So here we are at spot number 7, Sunwapta Falls. Again, like a few of the other places with those big viewing platforms, there is really only one composition, but I mean, what a composition it is. If you line it up properly, you can get the waterfall running through, see the water going all the way around the island. It's a great picture and one you just have to get when you're traveling the parkway. If you can catch this place with fresh snow or a great sunset or sunrise, then you're on to a winner. I think this is stop 7 or 8, Athabasca Falls. Bit of a weird one. I'm not a massive fan, to be honest. Again, limited compositions, and the walkways and all the viewpoints here kind of are looking really dated. There's this weird like overpass that goes over the top of a bunch of them. There's kind of graffiti on everything. It's not really like a wilderness experience, I suppose. The viewpoint where you'd probably want to take a picture from is always pretty busy. You'd struggle to set up a tripod there during the day. I managed to get like a long exposure handheld because I've got stabilization built into my camera. But I'd probably recommend, if you're going to come here, come in the evening, late at night, early in the morning. You might get some good light, less crowds, and you can set up a tripod and take your time. But onward to Jasper. I spent last night in Jasper after that long drive, and I mean, but what a day. Like, I barely scraped the surface on what's possible on the parkway. There's kind of endless locations you could stop at, and I think I spent about 12 or 14 hours altogether on the parkway itself. So I was going to just leave the video with a couple of tips actually if you're planning to travel the parkway yourself. Number one is leave a lot more time than you think. You're going to want to make loads of stops on the way. So leave plenty of time to explore and maybe squeeze in a hike or two. Number two is leave as early as you can, especially if photography is one of your priorities. Try and get a sunrise somewhere along the way. That way you'll also be ahead of the general crowds and a lot of the tourist buses. So every time you get to a location, it will probably be quite quiet for you for a while until they start catching up with you. Number three, always leave a little bit of time in Jasper as well if you are coming up here. Spend a couple of days here. There's again lots of hiking and it's just a beautiful little town to check out. And lastly as well, which is something I often neglect, if you're driving back to Banff or to Lake Louise afterwards, leave some of those stops for the way home so that you can break up the drive on the way back. It's tempting to stop at everything on the way up to make sure you see it all, but yeah, it's nice to break up that drive on the way back. But that's it, a day on the Icefields Parkway. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't go yet. I've just got a couple of other things I want to show you. So on my way back down from Jasper to Lake Louise, my friend Will called me and said, "Oh, what are you up to tonight? Do you want to go and shoot some Astro photography at Peyto Lake? And there's even a chance that we might get to see the Northern Lights." And obviously I was in the area, so it was a no-brainer. I said, yeah, no worries, I'll meet you there. And then we spent pretty much all night out there until about 4 o'clock in the morning shooting the stars and waiting for the northern lights. And it was amazing, and I've got some great photos to show you from that. And it goes to show that any time on the Icefields Parkway, there's opportunity to get great photos. However, in my opinion, I think the Icefields Parkway is actually better during winter. There are frozen waterfalls, frozen lakes, loads of snow, so the photographic opportunities are even better in my opinion. I'll be doing a video about that when winter properly sets in, so be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and I'll be sure to keep making these videos about photography and adventure in the Canadian Rockies.